Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my Cell Care series. My name is Kim Tran, and this is micro lesson number 5, the morning SEL meeting. And the reason why I have parentheses under morning is because I want to teach ways to be able to incorporate, not just for our elementary age folks, whose most classrooms have morning meetings, but I also want our middle school and high school classrooms to be able to participate in this strategy as well, because I think it'll be useful for all ages. So by morning, of course, it would mean more for your beginning of your class meetings. One suggestion I might give for middle school and high school is that, of course, if you're willing to have a morning SEL meeting, morning for every period every day, then more power to you. But I would at least ask you to have this activity at least once a week with each class, if not a couple times a week. That's totally up to you. So the morning SEL meeting has to deal with the concept of investing early. Of course, this is going to take more time out of your schedule. Not a ton of time, a few minutes a day, but it still will feel like one extra thing. But the whole idea is to invest early so that you can have long-term rewards, which would be a safer classroom, a more positive environment for your students, and one that fosters increased communication between you and your students. And I'm here to give you some suggestions and strategies on how to invest wisely so that you don't end up like the people in these comics. Because yes, of course, everyone can do a morning meeting, and most likely you all do a morning meeting, and most likely you all do a great job with your morning meetings. But the whole idea is to invest in a way that gives you the best gains and overall best results in your classroom environment. So a typical morning meeting consists of 3 actions. You greet your class, hopefully, you take attendance, and then you go over the schedule for the day. So the SEL meeting does have those 3 components because those are very important components for classroom management, for logistics, but there are a few more additional activities to add to make it an official SEL meeting. And understand the whole point of it is to check in with your students in an efficient way, because I understand you could end up taking a lot of time if you wanted to, but you only have so much time that here are some key concepts to incorporate. The Mindfulness Minute. And for mindfulness, the whole idea is to get in tune with your emotions and hopefully to increase your being regulated prior to having a learning activity. So, as you know, kids, even adults, have a lot going on in their lives, and sometimes it's important to take a mindfulness minute. And there are many activities that you can perform during your mindfulness minute. Some of the classic ones are deep breath, quick meditation, and some classes even create a slogan or some kind of saying uh, that they like to recite at the beginning that has to do with uh, giving your greatest effort, being present, those kind of different sayings. It is what you make it for sure. I have quick icebreaker in here, and what I mean by that is some type of relationship building activity that's efficient and timely. Um, Having an icebreaker is usually the quickest way to do it. That's why I give this as a suggestion, but of course, you have different options you can do. I try to keep these on the towards the surface area so that it's accessible for everyone, including our more sensitive students or students who don't typically share because they feel worried or nervous about what people will think about them. So, activities such as what is your favorite food, what is your hobbies that you like to do, any kind of question that helps you get to know your students a little bit more and help them to trust you more as well, and hopefully build connections. For example, favorite hobby, I would say something along the lines, I like to play tennis. Um, and then maybe potentially another student's like, hey, I like tennis too, or it's just something to build that relationship. A temperature check is not literally checking someone's temperature. It's more of trying to understand where that student is at emotionally in that specific time frame. So, what I mean by that is sometimes your students come in happy. Hopefully, mostly they're coming happy, but sometimes they might be sad. Sometimes they might feel nervous. And it's important for us to have some type of strategy to uh, hopefully efficiently gauge how your students are feeling. There's many ways to do that, which I will teach some strategies in that in a future lesson, but I just wanted to have the concept down of understand it's important to understand your students' emotions. Um, but a quick way that you can do that for now, if you wanted to incorporate that at the beginning, is to share your emotion briefly, of course, and then ask for volunteers. And typically, um, you'll have a few students start out, and then more students will come in. There's multiple ways to have a temperature check, though. And then, last but not least, go over the schedule for the day. So, why is it important to incorporate SEL strategies into a morning meeting? Well, the reason why is because we're in a specific time that is unlike any other time we've ever gone through in our generation. We're going through something that is very limiting to our communication and our relationships. There are literally students at home sitting on a computer, trying to stay connected to their classrooms via Wi Fi and via emotionally. But let's focus on the emotional part. So, you probably remember before all of this when we had students in the class for multiple hours of the day in person and how difficult it was sometimes for students to stay connected and be comfortable in sharing and communicating. Well, imagine now you're sitting at home staring at a computer. So you've probably even experienced that participation. It can be even more challenging for, especially for our students that were already um, having a tough time opening up. So incorporating skill strategies like the morning SEL meeting isn't going to solve everything, but it will be an additional support that you can put in efficiently and will yield positive results. Promoting student voice goes along with that. It's just another safe and comfortable way for students to be able to communicate and increase their student voice just by giving them an extra additional opportunity and a little giving them some structure and how they can participate. Last but not least, it's a proactive support. So the purpose of this is to check in with your students and hopefully not just check in, but build increase your relationship with them and increase communication with them. Surprisingly, learning that someone plays tennis or that they also like to watch scary movies or knowing that they have the same favorite food, even simple understandings like that can be the start for stronger relationships. So, how to have an SEL morning meeting? You already saw the list of the activities that to include, but here are a few strategies to implement as well. If you haven't already in your classroom, setting norms, or you can call them expectations with your students, whatever is more comfortable for you, is important to have in place. And hopefully they align with how you want morning meetings to be ran as well. But if they don't, you may want to create with your classroom some expectations on how to handle the morning meeting. We don't want the morning meeting to last an hour because we don't have that time. So having expectations ahead of time will allow you to be more efficient. Um, Deciding what mindfulness activity you're going to choose for your classroom. You can either use the same one over and over, which is fine if your class is great with it. You may want to have a couple other ideas, or you may want to rotate between your mindfulness activities. Like I said, deep breaths is one, brief meditation is another, coming up with a classroom saying. You may even have other ideas that for mindfulness minutes. And I'd be really happy to hear them if you'd be willing to share. Come up with a quick list of icebreakers or whatever relationship building activity you want to implement. Uh, Having different ideas will always save you some time and give you an idea of how to strategize implementing it. For temperature checks, that it really comes down to your preference of how you want to have a temperature check, but it's important to pre-teach how that will go because for time and efficiency, you may have to have a time limit for feeling sharing or helping them understand that if it is going on for a long time, that we have a plan in place of how to support that student, because sometimes people can go on and on about their emotions, which is great, but you may want to have a plan for how to make that efficient. Last but not least, have fun with it. It's not supposed to be a burden. It's supposed to be a proactive, positive way to um, be more in tune with your students, so that you can build that relationship and keep those lines of communication open. So here's an example of an agenda for a mindfulness minute. For time's sake, I'm going to just give you the agenda. I'm more than happy to run through examples with you. If you'd like, you just let me know. You'll have my email at the end. One thing I will say about the temperature check, one idea to incorporate is zones of regulation, which has a colors chart. Actually, I think I have one right here. You probably can't see it super well, but uh, you could always teach your students the colors and what they all mean, and you can have students be able to tell you what color they're feeling instead of going one by one and saying, "How are you feeling?" "I'm feeling sick. I'm feeling hungry. I'm feeling tired." That works too, but there's other strategies for that. So, last but not least, I want you to think of your students as icebergs, meaning that their presentation on the outside hopefully is who they how they're really feeling on the inside, but oftentimes there's a whole list of emotions going on the inside as well. And the whole idea of this is to build a relationship strong enough so that your students are willing to share what's going on the inside, so that you can be proactive and supportive in helping them in any way they may need, so that they can be their best selves and their happiest selves. So anyways, I'm Kim Tran once again. You have my email address. Feedback is always appreciated, and I'll see you all next week. Take care.